Hello, this is John Saltas with Ron Yengich. We're the Bingham Boys, coming live from the Bill Frost Garden Nursery on 21st South, and coolest garden neighborhood in the world. Over thousands and thousands of gardeners here, including, well, he's farther away, but Aldine, band member in the House of Cards, the punk rock farmer, giving me lots of advice. I put my garden to bed, got all the garlic out. All the garden out, put the garlic in. There's strands of stuff left, this stuff called fennel. If anybody has it, it's pretty annoying to me. But we'll talk about fennel next week, Ron, if that's okay with you, because there's a Greek word for fennel that'll be appropriate.
Okay, that's good, and maybe some of the listeners can
learn a word.
Learn a word, yeah. You look it up themselves. We never guess. We look it up. That's what we used to in the Weekly Reader when we got that in school. We never guessed about words. We looked them up.
Well, that was a thing in the old days to actually look things up, wasn't it?
Yeah, and actually, maybe go to a book. But although I have to say, as we get into this today, I looked up some stuff on the interwebs, and it was nice to have that at my fingertips.
Well, yeah, it's handy, but I think most people use the internet these days for, what's everybody else doing so I can have FOMO and I can do what they're doing, as opposed to, studying.
Okay.
Who uses it for research? It's clearly not the people who comment online.
I think you're right. But it is, although I like hard books, we've talked about that. If I first go to my library before I go to the internet, just because it's fun for me.
Yeah, I like the textural feel of a book, magazine, paper, print, all that. I really do like the convenience of just, having an encyclopedia in my hands. But my point is, I know this, if at least in my family's case, I'll pick on them a little bit. It's not universal, and some are better than others, and they all do it, and they all fail, which is actually doing decent research with that tool that's in front of them.
Well, you're an old man, aren't you?
Well, yeah, they ask me questions. I go, are you kidding? You got that phone in your hand. You want to know who the second president was? Google it. Why are you asking me?
I have to laugh. I'm kind of the same way, but it's true. What you're saying is true. I don't mind. For example, my granddaughter lives with me. We get along most of the time, but she'll come and ask me a question like that. I don't mind because I get to pontificate on it, and so that makes, I guess, some part of me happy.
Well, I'm happy you're happy. We're all happy. This is a happy day because, it's a good day in America. It's one of those Tuesdays when I'm not certain Utah still closes the bars on Election Day. Do they?
I don't think so. You know why they closed the bars?
The liquor stores, rather. The bars could still. You drag your jug in there.
But for a long time they did. And I read something just recently about elections, and it was George Washington's first election. We're drifting here, but I'll be quick. That he ran, he lost that election, and he blamed, and it was for something in the state of Virginia, or was then Virginia, whatever, Commonwealth of Virginia. He lost that election, and he realized that he lost it because at that time people bought alcohol to get people out to vote. And his next election, he spent all of his campaign funds, this is before he's president of the United States, in this election to buy beer and wine and rum for people that his campaign people handed out, and he won that election. And so that was done a lot. Mark Twain mentions it in Huck Finn and in other instances, and that's one of the reasons why in the United States for a long, long time, bars were closed, and in Utah, liquor stores were closed because they didn't want people to get drunk and vote for whomever bought them the most liquor.
Well, just speaking of what we just did, you mentioned something I was unsure of, so I was going to fact check you. It took me 3 seconds. The skill set my kids don't have. Okay. So I quickly Googled, and by God, you're right. So, yeah, I'm telling you. So here's, according to when he's campaigning for the House of Burgess in 1758, Washington famously provided a large quantity of alcohol to voters, including 28 gallons of rum, 50 gallons of rum punch, 34 gallons of wine, 46 gallons of beer, 2 gallons of cider. At the Constitutional Convention in 1787, 60 bottles of claret. This is the victorious now is coming through. We got more stuff to celebrate and more people drinking. 54 bottles of Madeira, 22 bottles of porter, 12 bottles of beer, 8 bottles of whiskey, I suspect that these aren't what we would call normal-sized bottles either. I'm pretty sure they all got pretty toasty.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
But I can think of no better way than to have an election. Why not? You come out with a hangover for 4 years anyway.
No, that's true. I think that one of the things that I was going to mention later, I'll mention now. I think that the song of the day should be "Day Drinking" by
Everyone. Everyone should have that song.
I know they should have that song, but I can't remember now who did it. It was a country band that did it, but I mean, "Day Drinking" would be a good theme song for election day. So, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, you were saying as we were pulling in about houses or some damn thing like that when we were walking up the driveway.
Oh yeah, I think one of the things you could talk about today is I feel so bad that Governor Cox's kids apparently have to enter the transfer portal and become Hoosiers because his son can't afford a starter house, and so they may have to buy a house in Indiana. Did you read about that?
No. Where are you talking? Where's he looking for a starter home, in Salt Lake Valley or down in San Pete County, where the Cox family is? That's where they're from, right?
He doesn't say in the article. It was in the Tribune, but he was really upset. And of course, who did he blame? He blamed Washington for how expensive prices are here in Utah. For houses, and that people can't get starter homes, and therefore his own family, the governor of the state of Utah, may have to move to Indiana and become Hoosiers. And so as I thought about that, I thought it might be an interesting topic because we also talked a little bit about this. You mentioned it first, and I agree. I think you and I are tired of talking about Donald Trump for a while. It's all the same. Nothing changes. The stupidity reigns. And when I saw the picture of his bathroom in the new...
Which bathroom? The Lincoln? The thing in the White House? Or?
Yeah, the thing in the White House that is now all golden and all of that. I didn't feel today like even going there. So I thought we'd talk about talks. What do you think about that?
I just looked. I mean, a San Pete County average home there is $375,000 on Zillow. Well, I don't know. I mean, first off, one asks the question: who in their right mind would live in San Pete County? Now, by the way, I know that one of our listeners, an old good friend of mine, a lovely friend. I don't want to out him as being on our team when he lives so near the governor, but he does live in San Pete County, so I'll be careful. But I'll ask the question again: who would want to live in San Pete County? So I don't think it's about pricing. It's about like, you know what, Pop, I'm out of here.
Well, maybe. I mean, that's not what Governor Cox says. He says that the average house in Utah, the starter home, runs about $275,000. The thing about San Pete County...
you're counting in there. I know a little bit about that. 275 statewide average?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, but...
You're also talking about Paiute County now.
Well, of course.
County.
Don't say anything bad about Paiute County, because our friend Scott Burns, who is the county attorney in Paiute, yeah. He'll say bad words about us, and he'll send Marty, his sheriff, up to arrest us, and Marty would love to do that. But I like San Pete County. I like that area. I did a lot of work down there. The judges down there, one of my favorite judges of all time, Judge Tibbs, was down there for a long, long time. Other good judges. Great old courthouse built by the WPA, the Works Projects Administration, in 1932 or some time like that. And the people are good.
I know they're good because I'm related to half of them. Well, so when I say this, I'm tongue-in-cheek, but I have, from my grandmother's side, her grandfather was a Mormon battalion dude that, had 4 or 5 wives down there running around. So, yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's a county. I'll tell you my biggest memory of San Pete that I love so much is, it seemed like I always got cases in the spring down there. And when I would drive down and cut over to that area and then cut down in kind of the back road there, you go through where all of these people had sheep and all the baby lambs would be out. Yeah. And it was so cool for me, a non-farm kid, to see these beautiful little lambs with their mothers. I just loved that. And also,
Well, you can see that in Greece and Italy, too, and maybe we'll talk about that sometime.
Let's not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so I like St. Pete. Ross Blackman, who was the county attorney there for a long time, is a terrific guy. He and his wife now live up here, but I have tons of love and respect for the rural parts of Utah. And I know politically I probably wouldn't get along with them, but I'll tell you what, good people, the kind of people that when I had them on a jury, listened to me.
Two questions. Number one, what was a typical case you defend down there?
Oh, I defended everything. My first case in St. Pete was a murder case.
A murder in St. Pete County. Let's call the National Guard. What else did you do? I mean, think about in terms of ratioed people. One murder there in the county is about the same as Chicago on an annualized basis.
Yeah.
So,
I see what you're saying.
But, okay, you have murder. What else? What's another mayhemish crime that needs Utah's most notorious criminal defense attorney? Seriously, and I say that with a lot of praise.
Notorious, is it nice?
Notoriously famous.
I did everything down there.
Drugs, perhaps.
Of course, drugs.
Then let's get the goddamn bombs on them, because why not?
I did.
Are they manufacturing drugs in St. Pete County in rural Utah?
Well,
to your knowledge, not your expertise.
No, I don't know specifically about St. Pete, but clearly, for a long time, before the cartels really took it over, there was a lot of meth that was manufactured in all of the rural
what
counties.
breaks my heart here is that the practice of manufacturing meth, even in rural Utah, does not pay a living wage that somebody can get into a starter home in St. Pete County.
Well,
we are a travesty of a nation if that's the case.
I think you're being facetious to a point, and I agree with that to this point as far as Governor Cox is concerned. Governor Cox made that statement when he was at the Ivory Prize Summit. So he was dealing with things sponsored by Ivory Homes, who has built about everything that they can build in Utah, and certainly in Salt Lake County. And I found it really interesting that his kids might have to become Hoosiers. I called. He didn't pick up. Joe Cravens, my dear friend, who is
basketball,
who by his own admission is a hillbilly from southern Indiana.
I love it when he was interim and he got that accent just rolling.
Oh, no.
It came out of nowhere.
There is no funnier human being than Joe Cravens. He is hilarious. His wife put together a list of his similes and metaphors that he would use. And the one that always strikes me is he's sweating more than a fat boy running in corduroy pants.
I can hear the thigh music with that one.
But she then told him the ones that he couldn't use because they were politically incorrect. But I tried to get a hold of him to see maybe he could get property in the Knolls, which is right across the Ohio River from Louisville, and which is the area.
Why
he's
Indiana,
from.
by the way?
I have no idea, because houses are cheaper there, and they are cheaper there.
Okay, so my youngest son, and he's lived in New York now for 2 years, got married in June. House shopping, right? And he and his wife have good jobs, big city. They're not living in Manhattan. They live on Long Beach, Long Island. Great area. And time to settle down. They're paying rent, right? Two pretty good incomes to buy a house. You think they can get into a house in Long Island?
Well, I wouldn't think so.
No. So it's like, and this is not, a small amount of money for a home there. So, well, where else? Well, let's try Utah. Think they can get a house in Utah decently? Yeah, if you put, everything down and move here, you're going to pay quite a bit. When I say $275,000 statewide average, which might be true.
Well, that's what he says.
Then you have to add in the places where, you don't get anything ramshackle, because everywhere in Salt Lake County, it's certainly not $500,000. It's probably going to be closer to $700,000 or $800,000, up to $1 million.
Well, my house
for a basic house, not a townhouse, not an apartment, not a small condo.
Basic stuff. I mean, my house, our house, in 1986, it was $270,000, which was a lot of money at that time. It's right on Capitol Hill, so we expected to have to pay more. But, I mean, the house needed work, and it had been renovated to a degree. But it's now, my tax assessment went up again this year. It's over $1 million estimated, and that's what I pay tax on that house.
Okay, so now
And
Ron
so-
moves out
but-
and the kid moves in. How are they going to buy him
Well,
in
they
our house?
can't, but it isn't my fault, and it is Cox's fault. Cox and the Utah legislature has invited people to move here forever. We've had ads taken around the country, move to Utah. They don't talk about us not having any water and the water getting less and less. They don't talk about climate change and those things as it affects Utah. Don't talk about the Great Salt Lake. Don't talk about less snowpack. We've had a few good years. That probably will change. They don't talk about any of that. They want as many people to come here so his buddies, Ivory Homes, and those folks can continue to build houses and run the price up so people have to pay. They don't talk about the problems with people getting mortgages, how much interest they're going to pay. Is your house paid off?
Like Tom Barberi used to say this on his show all the time. Maybe people remember Tom Barberi. I hate to tell you, listeners, but you never own your house.
Right.
So the answer is no. I mean, because you always paid taxes on something that was paid off. You got all kinds of fees.
And also you take money out of it.
Yeah. And, your 15 loan becomes a 30, goes down to 20. You go and borrow something, get a truck, and
Have
back
you
up.
ever looked, and don't do
Full
it.
disclaimer, I never borrowed money to buy a truck. I'm not that dude.
Well,
but, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's home is like, it's a forever
most people,
payment.
it is. And if you ever take a moment to look at how much interest you have paid over the time of owning a house for 30 years, you will ask yourself out loud, why the hell did I do this anyway? Because you are funding these guys that do have enough money to live on Long Island and in the best places in Long Island.
Long Island, I mean, you go in the middle of Long Island, it's quite conservative. It's Trump country parts of it. Good
Of course
parts
it
of
is.
But, they're suffering the same, which is the point here, sort of, for me, when I said that. Mikey's left-wing blue in one state, and we're a red state here in Utah, right? They both have the same problem. And it's not all Biden's fault. You just can't keep pointing that shit. We got a red state with a red legislature and red rules and a red governor. So hey, go figure it out. Go get married in bed with Cuomo then, because you guys, red and blue, are exactly the same when it comes to money, aren't they?
Yeah.
In this scenario.
No,
just to follow, he's setting up in Florida, where they're building still because there's, I guess, some excess swamp they want to get rid of. Who knows what they're doing in Florida? Anyway, it's a nice place. He's going to have a nice home in the Tampa area, and it's being built. And at least it's a place where you can get into, and that's purple. This is going to be interesting for my young son.
It's also
it's a purple state. Is what I'm saying.
And I don't mean to rain on this at all, no pun intended. It's in the hurricane zone, okay? A lot of the places that people are buying houses in I looked in Kentucky, and I looked in across the river from Cincinnati and Florence and those areas, because I like Louisville and I could live there. I thought about it. And so 2 or 3 years ago, I started looking about maybe, about something there. There's no question. My house in Louisville, that exact house, and there are some areas that have those kind of houses. I mean, I could get my house, it would be about $400,000, okay? And so I could move there and I could actually do it. I can't do it here.
Right.
Even if I wanted to downsize, there's nothing in the area that I want to live in Utah that I could downsize and get a good home.
We should talk
anything.
about this. There's a couple of things happening. Not right now, I don't think so, because I don't have all the research. There's some funny things happening. It's not just, hey, let's lower the interest rate 1% and kids can move into houses. That isn't it, because it's not going to drop the primary cost of the damn thing anyway, because the lumber's costing more and
But that's one of the things that Cox said. It's Washington's fault.
No, it isn't.
Because the interest rates are so high and so on and so forth. No, it isn't. It is the fact that we have an inflated market as far as the prices for these houses, and we just accept that that's the cost of the house.
Well, it is. And what I was going to say, there's a movement afoot, and I don't know the numbers. I've seen little people track it on socials. There's a whole bunch of Salt Lake Valley's housing market availabilities are being consumed by these big corporations. Ivory's a builder.
Yeah.
I'm talking about just outsiders making, like
Right.
consolidation of any other industry. We're consolidating the housing market. And every time that happens into the hands of a few, then you get shittier service and higher prices. But so be it, as long as a few guys make a lot of dough. So when they bankrupt a few more families and so on, that home becomes available. Somebody scarfs it up, puts it in the corporate portfolio, and there you go. I'd like to know more about that. I'm just giving the sketch about it. Here's where you can move. I just thought of it.
No.
Yes, I did. It was my thought. I did. Don't say no. It was my thought.
I'm not moving there. Where?
No. Copperton.
I've thought about. You know how much homes in Copperton?
That's what I was going to say. So when those homes were built, they're like $4,000 homes tops ends, and that was for a nice yard and a house, and they had coal furnaces or whatever back in those days. And a $4,000 home.
Plumbing was all copper too.
The roofs were, but those houses now are $500,000 houses in Copperton.
I know, and I looked at buying one. This is a number of years ago. I thought we'd get a second house in Copperton would be cool, and looked at it. But even then, they were pricey for having a second house in the same county. The thing I do want to mention about about homes in Utah is that it's not only corporations that are buying them up. I know they're doing it, but they're turning a lot of homes into Air BnBs, and that's eating a lot of the housing market up. But I'll tell you another one, and Cox could go free up 2 homes tomorrow if he wanted. Across 3rd North, right across from the Capitol, there are 2 duplexes. They're really nice, and I knew the people that owned them. And a wonderful older man and his wife owned one, and then another man and his wife owned the other. And this is interesting because the wife of one of them died, and the husband of the other one. And then these two got together, and this man was such a great guy. He had a problem with his arm. He couldn't use his right arm. And he did everything one-armed. And I would go over and say, can I help you? Do some stuff. I'll come and get you if I need you. And occasionally I'd shovel his walks without telling him because he worked so hard. And he kept these places great. He kept both of them. Well, lobbyists have bought those houses right across the street from Governor Cox. So if he wants his son to stay in Utah, he ought to walk across the street to his pals and say, look, this isn't right. We don't need you here. You can do this somewhere else. I want you to sell one of these houses to my son and then sell the other one to somebody else. It just needs a starter home up here on Capitol Hill.
Why would a lobbyist need a place? Is this just their little bungalow? Is it their den of
No,
inequity?
I think it's just they use it during the time the legislature's in session, and we always call a special session. I don't know what else they do there. I don't want to know, but yeah.
I think it's eyes wide shut. That's
well.
Is a Republican lobbyist or wait a minute?
Well,
lobbyists
no.
Supposed to
Actually, one is owned by Republican lobbyists primarily. The other one is owned by progressive lobbyists, including I know that some of my friends from the LGBT community, they lobby out of that house too. So it's just interesting to see when we talk about this stuff, and you go, hey, well, why don't you go find out who's buying all, as you were implying, go and find out who's buying all of these houses up and see what they're doing with them and see why it is. And I think he's right. It's hard for somebody to get a starter house.
Well, it is, and the B&B things that they took a heavy toll on the housing market. Absolutely,
we got a bunch of them in my neighborhood. Never have that was always. These were all single-family unit dwellings. There have been times when they have been used for multiple families. In fact, our house during World War II was cut up and used to multiple
It's
people.
not inappropriate for houses to gain value.
No, it's
and
not.
I don't even think there's a scale that says, it's only supposed to be 5 or 10.
No.
Whatever. We're a capitalist society. Whatever the market demands, we get. But that's not the whole thing. That's beyond base appreciation. The cost, every cost associated with getting into a home is excessive.
And Salt Lake City, to be the old mean man that I am, Salt Lake City itself, Salt Lake City proper, Are we in South Salt Lake, Bill? Bill says yes. Salt Lake City proper doesn't really seem to care about neighborhood. They really don't. There's no effort made to help people. There's no effort made to see that things are done effectively. If you call the city and there is a problem, for example, on Capitol Hill, surprisingly or not, we always are having trouble with electricity. The power goes off more than ever. And I guess it's because the new Bridge or whatever the hell it is, they probably live in Dubai. That's probably where it's run from. I think my checks go to Los Angeles, and yes, I still send checks. I don't let them in my bank account. But be that as it may, so you call down on an outage problem, you might as well call my dog, because you're going to get better service from her than you are from Salt Lake City on those things. Salt Lake City doesn't care. What Salt Lake City cares about is placating the group that is most important to them at the time. And I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble here.
Oh, no.
I know, but
no.
I know it really is, because it's going to piss some people off, because since it's election day, I have a way to settle the mess that is Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City is a mess. Driving here, they closed off part of 3rd East, because I was coming that way because I had to go to the bank. And they had it shut down in part. Everything is shut down here. Our city flag ought to be an orange cone. And I don't think anybody cares, because in my council seat, and I voted for Chris Wharton, good guy, gay man, married partner, good guy, really good lawyer. But on where I live, when you get the literature from the people running for that council seat, the number one thing is to indicate that you are LGBT. And our city council, and I think this is great, and we've had an LGBT mayor in Jackie Pospolsky, who I like a lot, and all of those things, I found the way to make certain that if there's a real problem, like movement around the city, we've got to say that it is an LGBT problem or it's an LDS problem. Because if we were able to say chuck holes are an LGBT problem or an LDS problem, we could get them fixed, because nothing else gets fixed in Salt Lake City unless it's one of those two groups. Was that offensive?
I don't know. I'm not easily offended, but I do know neighborhoods don't really exist like I know a classic neighborhood. And I lived in one when I was a youth. I lived in one in Chicago, where you're in a distinct neighborhood where the people eat the same, talk the same, go to the same barber and all that kind of stuff. That makes a neighborhood to me, not a bias of any kind, not a template for anything except commonality, So I don't know. I'm not offended by that, Ron. I think that it's a little overstated, because prior to, I'm in a way happy, because prior to that, it was just LDS and non-LDS. So at least there's a pocket. So I'm happy that somebody's able to get somebody's attention, frankly.
No, I am too. I mean, I think my credentials in supporting the LGBT community are out there. But what I'm saying is...
I get your larger point.
But my larger point is, in Salt Lake City proper, you can't get anything done. Nothing gets done. Everything is slow. The people on 21st South, the businesses there, you just and Sugar House, you have to feel for them. But we've got the same thing down in Salt Lake now. The temple is the LDS temple is going to be beautiful. That whole block is going to be beautiful. They built the temple in Jerusalem without machines quicker than they're finishing this thing off, and we got one more year to go with it. So those of us that actually live in the city...
If you're looking downtown, the poster child, there's two downtown for that kind of stuff. One was 2nd South, one's 9th South. You could even throw in 3rd West if you want triplets. So, 5-6 years ago, the city came in and said, we're going to put some water lines, on 2nd South, and it's going to take a year. And then every year they'd come back, and people in the businesses there would bitch and moan and say, well, another year. Yeah. It took several years. Meanwhile, Laziz is out of business now. I think, what is the on Second South. And there's others, by the way.
There are tons of them.
Johnny's on Second was hurt. The beer bar was hurt. All those were hurt terribly bad. The other one is Este Pizza, I think, is no longer there on Second South. But we've got a better street. I get it. There's bus lanes, and it's more of a better communal kind of street with bus and multi-traffic facets from walking to bike to whatever to car. If you need car.
Took too long.
It took too long, but not only did it take long, it took years of bullshitting people to make it even happen. They just freaking lie to people. That's my problem with the city. Any city. I don't think it's unique to Salt Lake. Ninth South was the same. They destroyed Ninth South, up and down. And we got a great biking corridor of it. And the 9 line, all that kind of stuff is great. In fact, Ninth South between my view of it, Ninth South between Ninth East, which was 9th and 9th, that was the hippie waterbed era when we were young, area, down to State Street at nighttime is pretty vibrant. It feels like it feels like a really cool city, a cool place to be.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think it's great, and it's getting better.
The problem is this: those guys that got hurt on Second South, for example. If you ask the city, what did they do? They said, well, we gave them some money. You know how much they got? Like $3,000. $3,000 to compensate 4 or 5 years of bullshit. And that's not helping. I mean, they should do the whole time. Hey, we're going to destroy your livelihood. You're mom and pop. You don't have this kind of money. And it's unfortunate. The city's attitude is, well, if they don't survive, somebody else will move in. And that's just not good. They should say, okay, we're going to destroy your livelihood and your investment. Why don't we you don't have to pay taxes or whatever, or we'll pay your rent for all these years. Watch how fast they get shit done if the city had to pay.
Or by eminent domain, we're going to take your property and we're going to pay you, and then we're going to fix everything up, and then somebody will move in here and we can sell the house, sell the property to them. Here's my complaint, but I want to say this.
Well,
now the Temple Square is supposed to be done at the end of 2027. I'll be 77. I don't believe that, and that's not a put down to the LDS.
Trump will be 107.
I'm not going to put down the LDS Church about this. Well, he'll be whatever.
If he's alive, you got to be alive.
All right. Be that as it may. You're missing the point. Because our city, and those of us that live in that area, because of all the construction at the Capitol, and now along with the temple, now we're going to give $992 million to a guy that lives in Provo, and he and his wife are going to fix the entertainment district. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to clog up all those same streets again with construction, and it's going to make it impossible for those of us who pay taxes, and a lot of taxes, to actually live in the city. So now Larry Miller's heir, and I know Smith isn't his heir, is going to be able to fix that up for us while he flies over it in his helicopter. And that, it's not just me that pisses off. It pisses off a lot of people. Get a plan and then lay it out so people don't have to live in construction constantly. That's the second time since we've lived there that they've done major renovations, the LDS Church has, with the temple, with the malls, and all of that stuff. We're always under construction, and there's no freedom of movement a lot of the time.
Well, I look in, like I said, I live in Chicago. I know construction happened there when they built like Wrigley, when they built the parks and all that kind of stuff, right, and all that. But, in Utah, when we have the construction and the mom and pop goes away, unlike Chicago, the mom and pop moves back in. Here, we're going to have a city of Chipotle and Chili's and Red Lobsters downtown. That's just not very fun to me. That's like Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix you could take it anywhere. It's just a downtown core of absolute no personality whatsoever. Denver's similar. So, we destroyed the city core. But here, a good friend of mine was in the heavy, big-time building construction phase, has done some construction in Salt Lake City. He told me this, and it's another thing that, get to the bottom of it. I said, well, how come these construction companies can get away with that? Part of it is one of the major culprits is something like, who does our power in Salt Lake?
It's Ethbridge.
No, is that Ethbridge?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, these big guys, they don't have competition, so they can dig forever. Nobody's going to complain if the power goes out because they're the only guys that can put power in. Rocky Mountain Power, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But, just straight up construction.
Maybe Ethbridge is gas.
Maybe, I don't know. But when a construction company gets a bid, first off, the things go to the lowest bidder, apparently, right? Isn't that what a city does, try to save money? But all those guys that are bidding have built into the bid all the penalties that they may pay if they
Right.
don't hit the deadline.
Right.
So when they say, hey, you got to have this done in 2 years or we're going to fine you $2 million a day, it's already built in. That means we're paying for slow work and the penalty. And the public doesn't know this, apparently. I didn't.
I know that now, but I didn't know it for a long time either. I looked into this stuff. And reality, the reality of it is there's no thought process about the people that live there. You know, I get the campaign literature. We're going to make this better, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. How about making it better all at once and not redoing everything or overdoing it? North Temple, or 3rd North in Salt Lake City, which is right by my house, has been torn up, repaved, and torn up 3 times in the last year and a half. And it isn't as though they just tore up part of it. They've torn it up. They've repaved it. Then they've torn it up again and repaved it because everybody apparently wasn't on the same page. And I get this from my friends that work at the Capitol. And you go, how about there being somebody from the government, sorry, Governor Cox, who takes that into account and also is in the management portion of doing these things? I'm told that's what's happened at 21st South as well. And so those of us that are in the midst of it get sick of it.
Well, we're idiots. Because here we have a government in Washington, D.C., whereupon people like our representatives, Burgess Owens is one of mine. My other one is Celeste Malloy. I'm lucky to have the 2 worst out of the 4. Say this all the time. We've got to fix Washington. Washington is broken. Well, guess what? You're broken.
Washington.
You're Washington. And then you have Cox saying it's Washington. But Cox is also saying that states need to be independent of Washington, but they're not. They're heavily dependent on Washington.
Can't be.
And so you're also government. So who do you point to? Point to the local government. All this stuff of blame pisses downstream, and soon we're blaming mayors who blame the county, who blame the district, who blame and so on and so on. Nobody here in whatever's government, it's not one is worse than the other. They're all stinkers. They all are just in the same realm. They're great people. You and I both know great people in government, but the machine of governance is flat out corrupted.
Well, let's talk about his desire to build starter homes. These are the Salt Lake City government and the state government have been talking about building a homeless camp now for about 10 years. They've gone back and forth on it. It's still not done. They were supposed to have it done by winter this year. It's still not done. They've changed the plans, and you want to know why? Because they can't get along with one another because either the Republicans in the legislature and the governor or the Democrats in the city council and the mayor's office want to be able to say, see, we did it our way, instead of just getting the goddamn thing done and taking care of the problems. In 3 weeks, the articles are going to hit the Deseret News and the Tribune about somebody freezing to death because there's not a homeless shelter. And this is on both sides of the spectrum because they can't get their shit together to get it done because they want to take credit for it instead of just sucking it up and doing something.
You're right. When you look at homeless is really a troublesome thing to negotiate because nobody wants to say they're discompassionate and they don't care. Of course, everybody cares, but nobody really does anything that's effective. So I moved in an office downtown Salt Lake in 1990, and we still office downtown 35 years later, and it's changed tremendously. But here's what also changed. The politics of red and blue, left and right, have gotten pretty coarse. So we hear shit like, oh, let's throw a goddamn bunch of National Guard guys in San Francisco and clean it up. Let's clean up Portland. Let's clean up Chicago. Clean up Salt Lake. Because here's the deal. On those 35 years, I didn't make 4 guys on the street that went to East High School, Highland High School, Olympus High School. These aren't Salt Lake City residents walking around the streets of Salt Lake.
Some of them are.
Okay, of course, some of them are, and a whole bunch of them are not. And I'm not saying that they went to some South Valley school. I talked to some of these people on the street. They're from parts of rural Utah too.
Yeah.
They're from Blue City, us, and red rural Utah. And the red rural Utah is saying, see, cities can't take care of themselves. They have crime, they have drugs. And you know who's doing it? The citizens you didn't take care of in your little town. You booted them out of town 30, 40 years ago, and their offspring. You didn't help them down there, and you pass it off to Salt Lake City, and that is bullshit. Everybody, Governor Cox, pay up and pay pro rata. Well, if you want Salt Lake City fixed, go down and tax the citizens in San Pete County and say, we got a problem up there. You know what the problem is? Some of our people moved up there with problems because Ron Yengich got them out of prison. Blame it on Ron. Ron got him out. He got him out scot free. And they took their skills elsewhere, and they took it to Salt Lake City.
Well,
these are not Salt Lake City natives all over the place doing this stuff.
I deal with homeless issues all the time, both when our offices were in the city, but I deal with it as a usher at the Cathedral of the Madeleine every Sunday. Okay. And I have a different take on it than you may, and just hear my take. Number one, homeless is primarily are people that have mental issues and a lot of people who have drug issues and a combination of it. Some homeless people are homeless simply because they're down on their luck. They have nothing else. And some homeless people actually love the lifestyle. I can tell you names of people that I know that are in each one of those categories. I know them by name. I've seen them. I've found out when many of them had died. I can give you names. Okay? So let me finish. So this is one that's big to me. On the left, we have people that believe that homelessness is a lifestyle and you got to accept it as a lifestyle. On the right, we have people that say it's a plague and we got to call the National Guard. It's neither of those things. What it is that most people do want to help these people, but you know what? And this is something that I deal with people at the cathedral all the time. Not every once in a while, but all the time now. If you come there, you got to pay respect to this place. As a church and as a citizen, I have an obligation to help you. You're my brother and my sister. But you have a concomitant obligation as someone who lives in this city to treat it in the way you would treat it if it was your property or whatever. We don't do that.
No, we don't. But my point wasn't about how we treat them. It's how politically it's been politicized into a blue state or blue city problem because they don't have it together. When many of the homeless in those cities, whatever the three reasons that you let out there, I'm sorry, you explained, whatever those reasons are, they're not all just bad people from big cities. These are normal people from other cities that came there for looking for some kind of help and didn't find it, and it's gotten worse.
To me, that's obvious. That's just a fact of life if you've dealt with homeless people at all.
I'm not talking about the homeless people. I'm talking about how people in governance deal with it. They blame it. They say it's a city problem, or it's a blue problem. It's Mayor Mendenhall's problem, whatever. But they don't help. They're not helping by saying that. They don't throw in the funds. They don't run down to the other places in Utah where the folks may have come from, or other states even. You've heard the stories of people busing.
Wyoming did it for years.
Well, then Wyoming, with all of your power, which is more power in Wyoming than all of Salt Lake County has with 1/3 the people, help us.
Well, okay,
but they won't.
But I don't disagree with that. But that's the type of thing that, and with due respect to you, that we get off on. And whatever it is, there are problem now. If it is a problem, and we've got to look at it as saying, no, this is not something that we accept, and we've got to have a comprehensive look at it. Now, I'm going to tell you something. The IHC bought the Sears Building. I always thought, I was a janitor there. Maybe I've said this on this program before, I don't know. I thought, and I talked to the old police chief about it, and And that's when I found out that IHC had bought it. It was originally owned by the LDS Church, that lot was, and it was leased to Sears on a long, long lease, but they still owned it. Maybe they still did when it was sold to IHC. IHC is going to tear down LDS Hospital. They're going to use that to build houses. This brings it back home. They're not going to be starter homes in that area. They are not. They're going to be big homes that are going to cost a lot of money. And on top of that, they're going to build a new hospital complex in downtown Salt Lake, in an area that could have been a perfect place where you could do full service, which means help, aid, and even if it was necessary, jail people that are homeless that aren't doing or that are doing things that are criminal. Because you could use the old garage, you could use the old flower shop, you could use the building itself. We don't do that.
I know.
And it has less to do where they come from.
No, Ron, I'm not putting it on the person. I don't care where they come from. As biblical as I am not, and you are, and I have a great respect for, I did the same thing on the streets of Salt Lake City. In my office, you can talk to our former receptionist.
Sure
people would come in the door. Is John here today?
Right.
Off the street, because they knew I had a buck in my pocket or a pack of smokes or a meal. And I did that for years. It's not about compassion on an individual level. All human beings try to be compassionate. Some are better than others. Some turn their back. I'm talking about politically. There's a denial at a governmental level. They define it as only a city issue. I'm not talking about the humans on the street. I'm talking about who's solving it. I'm saying the Coxes of the world are not doing a goddamn thing to help Salt Lake City's homeless. I don't care. They're not. That's my point. And whether they came from Sanpete County or not, doesn't matter. You should still help them. But when they come from Sanpete County, and when they come from Juab County, and when they come from other places, and they land in Salt Lake City, and the representatives holding those purse strings in our legislature do not fund Salt Lake City, that is a sinful problem as far as I'm concerned, because they've turned their backs on it, and they think they're passing the problem off, and they're not doing the biblical.
I don't disagree with you on that. I agree with you 100%. But but by getting there, and by the left saying, it's a lifestyle, we can't just make people do stuff. Well, you can. You can have people not shit in your rose garden, okay? That's not right, okay? And we get to a point where we all have to get together and say, it is a real problem. How do we begin to deal with it? And we've got to deal with it all together. Then we can find out who funds it. You've got the money, Governor Cox. Fund the problem, because it is a problem in Salt Lake City and a lot of other places. And quit batting the ball back and forth and then wringing your hands when it's too hot or too cold and homeless people are dying.
I haven't seen a Salt Lake City neighborhood, any big city neighborhood, raise their hand and say, we'll take the problem, ever.
But they should.
They should. But, it should come with help from all over, not just be a city problem that you can make a wonderful meme of a president shitting on people from a jet airplane.
Well,
that's what my point is it's not just their problem, it's all of our problem.
And I agree with you, and I don't think it has anything to do with individuals' compassion or not. That ought to be there, and that wasn't my point either. It was, how about dealing with it comprehensively and stop claiming, as you say, that it's a city problem, and as cities say, oh, well, it's a lifestyle.
Well,
I just don't get
migration from that is not just city any longer. It's a blue problem. If it wasn't the case, then
that's the meme. That is the real meme.
Right.
That it's a blue state problem, a blue city problem, and it doesn't happen.
And then everybody that's on that side, which apparently is now at the lowest ever 34% approval rating for our dear president. That's the MAGA base now. 34% of Americans, and they're in control.
Well, I want to just let's finish on a high note.
It's election day.
I can think of one right now, because as we've talked about this today, the one thing that I found really funny in the news was that Donald Trump is now supporting Andrew Cuomo for mayor, and this is simple because I think I did look this up, that Mario Cuomo, his father, a very progressive, decent man, is buried at the St. Joseph's, I think it is, cemetery in New York. And I think that they could probably light New York up completely by how fast he is spinning in his grave, and the energy created by spinning around, to think that his son and Donald Trump would be on the same page with anything. So we can end this on that.
Well, that's fine. I think it's Musk and Trump both endorsed Cuomo.
They did.
So, when you look at commonalities, well, you have some sexual proclivities that have been in the news. Maybe there's something going on there, birds of a feather.
Don't even want to go there.
Well, or is it because it's more acceptable for a fascist mind to not support a communist mind, a Mamdani, whether he's a communist or not? I don't think he is, but people have thrown that tag on him. He's certainly a threat to everything that's on the Trump agenda because he's energetic, he's charismatic,
and he's
bright.
dark-skinned.
Oh my God, what a rub that is! I read something the other day, like why somebody says why doesn't Trump why is he always pissed off at Mexicans and stuff, right? Because we always forget he's mostly picking on black people, black women particularly. Huh?
He got tired of picking on black people.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
So one on Mexicans was something I've never seen this before. He was had some function or somewhere, misspoke. Gee, what's the likelihood of that? And if you have been around, and I know you have, some fiery Hispanic blood, you don't offend women, or there's a price to pay.
Yeah.
And he apparently did, and a couple guys, just said, oh yeah. And I don't know if they badly beat the shit out of him or not, but took it to him.
When was this?
I don't know, sometime in the late 80s, early 90s. I had never, ever seen it. I'm not validating it in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going like...
You're just wishing it did happen.
I don't wish harm on him, but it's just, what is that curiosity there? Why would it have been? And that was this person's explanation, and apparently validated it. I'll try to find it.
Well,
not a big deal.
I just hope that Mario stops spinning after he lights up the Empire State
Well, he's
Building.
not going to win, so the Cuomos should just fade away, him and his brother Chris at the same time.
No, I don't know. It's... Well, we got to Trump again, and we were avoiding. And I'm blaming that on you.
It's my fault.
And let's end on that, Bill.
Okay, name one good thing about Trump. Go ahead.
Name one good thing about Trump?
Go ahead. Time's up. Let's end it. It's another episode. How much time do we have? We got to go. There's not. You can't do it, can you?
I was thinking. I can.
What?
He said he's not likely to go to heaven.
He did say that, didn't he?
He did say that. So there you go.
So
I don't judge other people where they're going. I fear where I am, but I think that may be the one honest good thing he's ever said.
The second part to that was, why do good things unless there's a heaven? Basically was what he said.
Is that what he said, really?
Well, if you can't go to heaven, why do good things? He said that. And that's a paraphrase quote. Bill's nodding his head in strong approval over there.
Yeah,
because what that means is if you're an ethicist, that is totally off base, because a lot of people could make the case that the most ethical people are atheists because they value life. Yeah. They don't sit back and say, hey, let's chop some heads off and get retribution in 79 virgins. They go, every moment is precious.
No, Stoics. I mean, the Stoics are very much that way. One thing that we've got to do, we've got to thank Bill for all of his hard work, but also and I'm going to get this wrong, Utah Music Radio, is that right, Bill? That puts this miasma of an inanity of an argument on every week for us, and also Substack. And I know that we're on YouTube and
don't say Spotify, because Spotify donated to the ballroom. So let's just call this off, because now you're digging a weed.
No, I'm not. I wasn't going to go to Spotify. I didn't know that they did anything. I don't even know what that is. But
it's right there.
I know, but I don't read stuff that Bill posts. So anyway, those people that have supported us, I want to thank them. And the City Weekly for supporting us as well. One final thing, if I may. First Saturday in December, we'll talk about it next week. We do the run in memory of my brother and Jerry Ennis and Jeff Jensen in Copperton. 11 o'clock in the morning, first Saturday in December every year. give the money to homeless vets and the Veterans Court, among other things. Come and join us.
Eat fennel in the meantime. Bye.